Squatch and Holler. Please like and subscribe.
And hit that bell.
Hey, can anybody hear me? I'm going to bring Billy in and see if I can hear him. What's up, Billy?
Man, I don't know. Trying to figure this thing out, man.
Damn it, y'all. What about now?
Oh, now it popped up.
Oh, this is ridiculous. I hate technology. I had it worked out. Hold on a second. I got something. I'm sorry, y'all. Having issues, yes. No sound. Always something. Troubleshooting.
Have I got my sound turned down? I don't know.
Well, we might have to redo this. Let me go in there and see if I can. Can y'all hear us? In the chat? Can y'all hear us? I can't hear Billy.
I hear you.
Settings. Audio. Let's see.
Let me try something.
Hold on, y'all. This is ridiculous. All right. Hold on. Billy, say something.
Hey, man.
I can hear you. Oh, my God. Can you hear me?
I do hear you.
Whew. Dadgummit. Y'all, welcome, everybody. This
Looks like it's a big delay.
yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. What I did, since I haven't been doing any shows, I downgraded, and it's different. There's things that I've got to go find out. I don't even know how to put a thumbnail on here anymore.
Man, I don't know nothing about it.
Yeah, obviously I don't. It don't feel bad. I have to reset my sound every time it does a live stream. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether, because I don't have an app on here, so it shouldn't. Can't re-download anything. What's going on, Billy?
Man, I don't know. Just hanging around. See what you.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the last minute thing. I texted Billy and asked him what he's doing and told him to get his makeup on and get the camera working. And you don't have any technical difficulties. It's weird how the phones work so much better. It's just my phone works a whole lot better. All right, let's see who else in there. Mr. Blaylock. What are you doing up so early? Miss Celine?
They got an earthquake out there, I think, this morning.
Again?
I think so.
Yeah, I guess that probably woke him up. God's alarm clock. We got chickens, they got earthquakes.
So not watch there for an hour or two.
I met back before I started getting out, before the internet. I met there's a bunch of us. There's a guy out west. We traveled out that way, just road trip type thing, and he saw I had a Tennessee shirt on, and he was like, "Man, I'm from California and we have earthquakes, but you guys have tornadoes, and that scares me to death." He said, "I'm not scared of earthquakes." I'm like, "Well, I mean, I'm terrified of earthquakes because we don't have them. I guess you get used to it. But I don't get used to the tornadoes. I hate that weather. So, I guess it's like where David lives. I've always wanted to go visit, and I know from the pictures it's beautiful. But be my luck, I would be out there and they'd have the really big one, and I couldn't get back home. So, uh, let's see here.
I keep telling David he needs to move. Come east before he breaks off out there and falls out in the ocean.
Maybe he'll be okay that far north. Maybe. But have you had anything happen lately?
Me?
Yeah.
No. Man, it's all been still around here.
That y'all I talked to Billy, I don't know, he called and checked on me one day in about 3 hours. And I'd heard stories that I hadn't heard. And when you told about leaving your tools and everything at the cabin, and if you want to, you mind telling some of the stuff, for people that hadn't heard? Was that the first time you'd had anything happen, or?
Well, I think now that things have happened and you start putting two and two together.
Yeah.
I can remember as a smaller child, my granddaddy made liquor up in this hollow.
Mm-hmm.
And right here where I'm living, I live on the old farm. And he and a couple of his buddies were over in the hollow running liquor one night. And of course, they're drinking it fast as they can run it too. So they said that sometime during the night, something stuck its head through the honeysuckles into the area they were working in. They had like a honeysuckle growth around the area they were in, kind of concealing. Yeah. And something stuck its head in and scared all of them. Granddaddy said it was a dog-faced man with fine hair on his face. Of course, wow. Everybody here just laughed at him. Don't nobody talk about no kind of boogers around here.
Right. Has it changed in the last 5 years or so, 10 years?
Not a lot. Not a whole lot. I mean, it just seems like now you get over in the western area of the state, it seems to be changing some over around Tazewell, Virginia, over toward the Kentucky line, over that way, West Virginia line. It seems to be changing some because they're seeing more of them.
Well,
but around here, not really.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I'm not downing anybody because I live in a area that's like yours. It's changed a lot, but my dad was born in 1949, and even then, and then my grandmother, when she passed away at 65, there was a lot of distrust from, let's say, outsiders, which because a lot of times we talked about this. You might be doing something that might be frowned upon or illegal to help support your family. So when strangers come snooping around, you're real wary of them, and then that carried over to the privacy and people. They did laugh at each other, and then sometimes we're in the Bible Belt, they call it, and a lot of people were scared of even more than just being laughed at by talking about some of this stuff. So, the people were trained to be tight-lipped. As you were a kid, you might get it popped upside the head. Don't talk about that.
Yep.
And so it's in certain parts of the country, here, like I said, it's changing, but there still are pockets around the country that it takes a little longer to change because And I I've seen the relief of people that finally get to talk about it, but I totally understand. Billy, we hit it off right away, but we talked about some of our history and family and stuff, and the hills of Tennessee and West Virginia ain't too far off from how people had to live. I don't think, but it's very interesting hearing your stories, because I start realizing there's not really a whole lot of difference,
That's,
and
that's
the some of these things that we've been learning has only been possible because like people like you and me and other people we know decided, what, we done got older, we don't care, we know what's going on, and if you want to laugh at us, you can laugh, but you're the one that's uneducated. And I'll talk to people if they want to, but most of the time they're too scared to actually listen. So, but y'all, Billy told me a story, and I laughed, and it wasn't funny, but I could see it, because I would probably have done the same thing. Can you tell them about when you was working on the cabin, what you were doing, and what led up to it?
well, my grandson wanted to build a cabin on some property that I own, and um, we started working over there. We were cutting trees. He said, "Papa, I want to build a cabin like they do on them Alaska shows. Can we do that?" I said, "Sure, we can do something like that." We jumped up, started to build a cabin. Now I was going out and cutting trees and skinning bark and doing all this. And I'm working with a 8 or 9 year old, and we're up in the mountain every single day. Well, as time went on, it didn't take long. He started getting burned out on it. And I was by myself, so I decided I was going to do this thing. And I had been over on the property camping for about 9 or 10 days, and I was working by myself. Then I kept feeling like something was around me, something was looking at me, and I had seen a bear over there and thought it was that old bear snooping around. Well, I went on and worked through the rest of the day, and it was nobody there but me and my dog, and we was sitting around the campfire, and I done fed him. We done quieting down, I guess about 9:30 at night, and all of a sudden something screamed. I mean, it screamed. It rattled every bone in my body. It was like, oh, I think it was Greg talked about it, even felt like it blurred his vision.
Mm-hmm.
How strong it is. I would have thought it was something standing right beside of me, screaming with the volume and the power that it had. And I don't know how long it went on. I know it couldn't have been long, but a few seconds of it, and it's like I'm just standing there like I've got a hold of a electric fence wire, just like shaking. And I had a little camper over there set up, and I ran up in that camper, took the dog, got up in the camper, and I realized I've been over there for all these days, and I didn't even have a firearm. Excuse me, a pew pew.
Oh, you're good.
Protect myself. Other than I did have a knife, and I'm sitting in this little camper thinking, Lord have mercy, man. So whatever that was made that noise, could just rip the side off this thing and come in here and get me. And I sat there all night because whatever it was between me and my truck. And I didn't feel comfortable trying to get to the truck. But then again, I didn't feel comfortable in that little camper either. But I sat there till daylight, and I looked outside, didn't see nothing. I grabbed my dog and drug him to the truck, and we left. And when I left, I've never been back. My truck is still sitting in the same place that I left them.
That's
I don't even lock the door on the camper.
Well, when you were telling me, I've tried to put my place in the people they were telling the story, their position, and I was terrified because you were talking about how long you had to stay. You were scared to go to the truck. You're scared to move or whatever. But then when you said the tools are still up there, I'm like, wait, you didn't go back at all?
I've not been back.
Well, so that How many things in your life have scared you like that? I don't care what it was. I
You
mean,
talk about something
he
the
put the
saying
fear in.
had the fear of God put in you.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I have in me. I knew there was something in those woods bigger than I was.
So that's a good point. We talk about sounds, and until somebody gets a glimpse of one or sees one, you can't hardly describe the size of an adult. And I haven't seen the big, I've only for sure seen one, maybe two. I just have a hard time saying definitely on the second one, even though it was a really good look. But you can't get across the size, but also, you know, getting across as soon as you hear an animal, you can tell a few things, whether it's a bull or whatever. If it's mad, threatening, and the size, you can tell from the volume of the sound and the deep. You can tell, okay, this wasn't the size of a small dog, right? So, um, when we're out doing things and we hear stuff, 99.9% of it can be attributed to something just regular, whatever. But then when that one thing does happen, and you tell people, well, it scared me. Well, but obviously it wasn't a person screaming, right? Because you would have been handled things a whole lot different.
Exactly. I
And,
could deal with a person. I'll give you an example of what you're talking about. Um, I had heard something up there, and like I said, I thought it was the bear. And I was needing some help too because I've gotten the walls up as high as I'm able to go, and I'm trying to swing 40-foot logs through the woods by myself, and I needed some help, somebody to help guide these things. And I carried a buddy of mine up there and showed him. Nobody knew I was doing this. None of my friends. They just knew I had disappeared. I'm not
right.
around like I was. I didn't say what I was doing. I just said I got a project. I carried my buddy up there, and we pulled up, and he's all admiring the cabin. He said, "Oh my God, how did you get them logs so high in the woods?" I said, "Well, if you work, you can do anything if you try." And about that time, I heard something off to the left at about 10 o'clock on the clock dial, and whoop! I said, "What was that?" I knew exactly what I heard.
Yeah.
He said, "What?" I said, "That whooping sound." He said, "Oh, I don't know. I didn't hear it." He said, "Man, I just can't get over how far you've got along with this cabin." I said, "It's been a whole lot of work." And then about 2 on the clock dial, it said, "Whoop." I said, "Did you hear that?" He said, "Oh, that ain't nothing but one of them old whooping cranes." He said, "We right here on the river, Said, "That's a whooping crane." I started laughing. A whooping crane. Well, hey, I don't know what a whooping crane sounds like. Maybe it does sound that way. When I got back home, I looked up whooping crane, and it don't sound nothing like that.
Right.
Makes a racket. So, you know, I didn't know no better, and he didn't know no better either. Just like you were talking about, it takes you got to you experience it, and what I always say is, I don't know what it was, but I can tell you what it was.
I've used that term a lot since I heard you say that, because that's exactly right. I'll say, like Billy says, and
Yep, I've heard you say that.
that's the truth.
Yeah,
That's the absolute truth. When me and Peyton had the growl at us the other day, instantly I knew we slipped up on something and spooked it. We startled it, um, and it turned towards us. We could hear. I heard the feet move, and it made that noise. And right away, Peyton, he says, what was that?" And I'm like, "You know what that was?" And I'm like, after we're walking off discussing it, I'm like, "What could it be? Tell me what it could be."
yeah,
And he says, I don't know. I can't tell you what would have made that sound that big, you know. And so the you start ruling out things very, very quickly by size. I mean that, it, and the exact same thing too when we had the rock thrown tossed, it's something with thumbs. It's either a person or it's something else with a thumb. You right? And so you rule out a lot of stuff. And it's with the whoop sound. I'd heard people on TV. We'd always watch the same shows, and you'd seen them do the calls or whatever. And I've heard recordings of the whoops. And what's funny is, just like we all have different pronunciation of, just regular words because of where we're from and our family and all. I've actually heard a whoop like that as whoop, whoop, and then a grunt back. I've told y'all about that. And I think that's maybe a younger one. And it was like the mom was telling it, shut up, like two grunts, like stop. But the whoop, the when I started hearing, I never heard these. I hunted and never heard a whoop, and I thought, oh, well, maybe it's in the back of my mind. And when I've actually heard a few, and they're different. They're not. They don't. There again, it would take a very, very big bird. I know. Bird. They're piercing. Some of them can be loud, right?
Oh yeah.
The loud is totally different than the. I don't know if it's the volume of air that's caused to make a certain sound that makes it. I don't know. Somebody smarter than me, y'all can.
Well, it don't take a large animal to make a big sound.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Listen to a fox in the woods, or even down a rabbit.
My daddy
don't make any noise.
My daddy always laughed at. He said one of the there was a cat. There was a 2x4 or something on the ground. It was in a stack of wood, and I don't remember the circumstances, but the 2x4 was warped, and this house cat come walking across there, and he turned around. And he said, "How can such a little animal create so much noise?" But yeah, I get what you're saying. Sorry to cut you off, but that was a memory that popped up.
It don't take a large animal, but when it is a large animal, it's a large animal.
Yeah.
And whoever yelled up there in those woods that night, when it's big enough to make my inside shake.
Yes.
That's large animal.
That's different. Yeah, that's and you can be, I'm sure you've heard the bulls bellowing, and they're loud and they're deep, but they don't do what these things do.
Yeah. I've never experienced anything like that before in my life. But it's been 6 years since I've been to that cabin. And it's said, my son and my grandson, they hunt up there a lot.
Yeah. And
haven't seen anything. I've told them about what I've seen. Not what I've seen, but what I've heard.
Yeah.
And they say, "Oh, Daddy, there ain't nothing up in them woods." But, my grandson had an experience when he was younger, like 5 or 6. And then he and I found tracks when he was around in that age, 6 to 8, maybe.
Is that the trackway that you followed for a long way?
Yes. We found those when he was between 6 and 8. When he was about 6 or 7, he was playing with one of his friends above the house here up in the hollow. And he said, both of them said they came flying around the corner, down past where the barn used to be. And he come flying down through there, and he's running as hard as he can run. His little buddy's running behind him, and I think they're racing. I'm hollering, "Come on, William, come on, William." When I got there, they said, "Daddy, Granddaddy, it's a Bigfoot up in that hollow."
Oh, man.
What? He said, "It's a Bigfoot in the hollow." He said, "Daniel, tell him, in the Bigfoot up there." And he said, "It was something." I said, "Where did you see it at?" He said, "It was behind some brush, and it stood up behind it and walked up through the hollow." And he said, "Me and Daniel turned around and run." And you start thinking about all those things going on.
There, you think of a kid, and when we were young, that explanation, if he'd have said, something was behind the brush and took off running and it sounded big or whatever, but when he said it stood up,
Yeah.
that
The thing
I've
about
heard that.
I gave those two kids every opportunity to get out of the lie. If they were telling a lie, I gave them every opportunity. I made up, oh, it was a bear or
Yeah.
somebody just there or just anything. I gave them every opportunity, and I gave them every opportunity. I seen them two boys for a good month, and their story never changed. I gotta believe them.
Right.
Me and my friend walked up there, and we looked around. We didn't see anything. So, I mean, who am I to say they didn't see something?
Well,
kind of those two kids to make up that they did see something, if you want to know the truth about it.
and I've been in the same situation. I was a little older, but the one of the people I trusted in the whole world, my dad, I told him, and he laughed at me. So, and that might have kept me from telling everybody. It might have saved me from some ridicule too. Because back then it was 85. But I would ask people every now and then, and sometimes I was shocked at the people that admitted it. If I told some of the names that told me back then that they had seen one, I'm talking about teachers, police officers. Hey, don't most of them are passed away now, but it just comforted me to know, because you question yourself. How many times have you questioned yourself over why you ran? Your heart and your legs know why you ran. But you like, how did that scare me so bad? How
your heart and your legs disengaged, and the clutch was loose on them legs.
And
something like that.
Well, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Do you think that if you'd had a firearm, you'd have went to the truck?
I don't know. I generally speaking, when I'm camping or out by myself, I usually carry a 44 Smith & Wesson under my left arm in a shoulder holster, and I usually got a 45 Colt in my belt, if not a long gun also. But usually those two are going to be with me pretty much wherever I travel. And I don't know that would have been enough for what I heard.
That's I grew up shooting. I grew up hunting. We didn't have to deal with the bears here. There's a few times stragglers have come through. Then when the mountain lions appeared, you start having to rethink things. But I've never in my life felt undergunned, and I don't even know if that's a term, until that mess happened a couple years ago to me and Peyton. And I've got a shotgun, double aught buck. I don't remember what pistol I had with me on my side. He has an AR and a 357, and I felt like an ant with a boot above me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it scared us so bad. He set his rifle down because he knew. I didn't tell him to. He knew that we were in trouble, and I said them ugly words. And that's when I started talking out loud. We're not here to hurt you. We don't want to be hurt. We're just curious, blah, blah, blah. But that sound, we heard it throwing the fit and doing things. But when it made the vocalization, and it was letting us know, I need you to leave now. That's the first time in my life I felt like I might as well had a switch in my hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I can't explain that, but I felt like there were more than one of them too, and I felt like we were being distracted. You know what I mean? This way, and Peyton had seen the wavy object move in front of the tree. All this was the same time, and it was it wasn't cold enough for that. It wasn't hot enough for that and he said, Daddy, you're not gonna believe me, but we just had a tall something moved from left to right or whatever. And he said, I wouldn't have seen it if it went in that tree. And I looked back I glanced back. I said, which one? And you're talking about 20 yards behind us. And so when stuff like this starts happening, that's when I start thinking, okay, maybe some of these people are not crazy, because Peyton, he was raised like me. If me and you go hunting and I see a 3-pointer, I'll tell you it's a 3-pointer, and I'll tell you about how I was raised, to kind of. I'm not going to say, yeah, I saw a 12-pointer out there,
Right.
like some people do, and we were in a situation where he needed to get information to me, and he had no reason to add to the what was going on. You know what I mean? It was like warning me, but it's just, man, I know people they love to listen to the shows and watch these shows, and I was watching them for the same reasons, and sometimes they ask you, well, like you. I mean, I could have said, well, why didn't you get a recording of it? Well, it's after the fact. You know what I mean? And is Greg in here?
Yeah.
So Greg made a comment one time, and it absolutely was spot on. I love the way he puts things. Somebody had questioned, well, all of us, why didn't you get a picture of it? Why didn't you get a video of it? Why didn't you take your phone out? And so Greg said, people can go to these zoos and they can get all the pretty pictures they want with their cameras, their fancy cameras and their phones and all that. He said, but throw them in the cage with a gorilla and see how many pictures they come out with.
That sounds like Greg's.
Yeah, so he's being funny, but he's telling the truth. When stuff is going down, you get it's self-preservation first, right? I'm and luckily I've had audio going. I've learned from Spencer's mistake. And I'm not turning the recorder on, like turn it on as soon as you get there, even before you get out of the truck. But
see, now that's the difference between me and Spencer. I'm not a researcher.
Yeah.
Go to these campouts and meet and greets, and I do that because I enjoy the people.
Yep.
I go for the people. That's where I met you at,
Yep.
That's where I met Greg first time. That's where I met Spencer the first time. The first time I rolled in a meet and greet, I didn't know a soul on the property, but I knew them all before I left.
What was your first one?
He'll be here. Last April.
This last time?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
First meet and greet.
Yeah. Ain't that funny? I didn't know who was who, and we just happened to pull up beside you. And then Neoma was beside us. And then, we had people, Wendell. It's just, it was just a great time. I mean, awesome. I was like in awe of, and somebody said it earlier, finally getting to put a face to a name, because we see everybody in chat or whatever.
Yeah.
And so y'all, Billy, these a lot of times there's rare times where there's stories of something going on longer than just a few seconds. Me and Peyton, we didn't get a clear visual, but it was like 15 minutes. But it wasn't fun. And it wasn't a close up like we were seeing these things, right? It was close enough that just out of sight. So gathering information, usually it's got to be pretty quick. It's just like I'm scared. Well, I was scared of the mountain lions when I got here, but I realized as I interacted or hunted in the same areas, most of the time they want to be left alone, and they get out of there, right? They know you're coming before you know they're there. And that's the same with most things. But when somebody gives you information or you see something and you can ask the right questions, and there was one thing you told me about, I think you said you had a girlfriend that saw one.
Yes.
And the information you collected of what it did after they saw each other, is very telling. And you tell what happened in that situation?
Well, she was working. She worked a late evening shift. Most times she didn't get home. 12 o'clock was early for her to be home. And she come pulling in one night, and she had seen a raccoon in the driveway, I don't know, a week or two before. And she got to where she wanted me to come outside and walk her to the house because she was scared. She was scared of that raccoon. Tonight, I walked out, going to meet her and bring her on in the house, and she was standing at the rear of a car. Well, I'm thinking she's dragging some more stuff to the house. I don't know what she's got. I said, well, you done drug home now, and she's standing there and she pointed out in the side yard. My side yard's, I don't know, 3 or 4 acres, and it's a big open field. I keep it clean. And then there's a wood line of pine and stuff up there. She's pointing toward that field, and she said something was behind the shed near the chicken house. And when I pulled up and my lights hit it, it spun and run behind the shed, and I seen it jump the creek. Well, where she said it jumped the creek, the bank on the other side is like 8 or 10 feet up. And she said she saw it launch off and land on top of that bank and never break stride. I'm thinking, oh, you must have saw a deer. Deer do that. Deer wouldn't have no problem jumping that.
Right.
But she said, no, it looked like a man.
Mm.
And I'm looking, I don't see anything. I said, well, you just keep it in your mind. I said, in the morning, we'll go back out and I want to look. So I had her measuring off a security sign that was on my shed and told her to drive down the driveway, come back up. And when she got to the point she thought, my driveway's got just a little bit of rise in it, not much, but a little bit. I said, when you get to the point where you're thinking that thing's head would have been level with a security sign, let me know. Stop. Well, she stopped, got out of the car. She said, right here, I think, is where I was at. I said, all right, you sit back down in the car. Let me walk to where you blow the horn when you say I'm where it was. She said, okay. So I walked on out there, and she tooted the horn. I turned around. I said, here. She got out of the car, and she said, yeah, right there. I said, now measure me according to that security sign on the shed. Am I bigger, smaller, or about the same size of what you've seen? And she said, you're not as big as what I saw. So now I'm at that point. Well, I'm already looking around trying to see a track or anything, which I don't. And I went down. I said, it spun around here and went toward the creek. She said, yep. When I got to where she said it jumped up the creek, man, it's 8 or 10 feet. I couldn't even begin to jump up to that.
Right.
It was climb. If I was going up that, I'd have to climb. So I don't really have any explanation for that, but I do know that there was 2 other neighbors the same period of time that she saw this thing. There was 2 other neighbors. One guy, he called me at 2 o'clock in the morning and said there was people in the woods behind his house. He only had about 30 feet of backyard, and he was then it was woods. So he said, can you come up the back way? We had roads went all around through the ridge over here. He said, you come up the back way, and he said, maybe we'll see them, scare them off. So I got my pistol and my shotgun. I took off I got in the truck, rode up through the woods. By the time I got to his house, he had a county deputy there. And deputy comes out, he's all upset because here comes me riding through the woods with loaded shotgun hanging out the window and a pistol laying in my lap. And 900 questions about that. Then when he got done with, he was convinced that I was okay, that I was neighbor next door. He said, man, is this guy here? Is he right in the head? I said, no. I said, he's really and truly not. And he said, when I got here, he said, he's standing in the yard with a 6-foot ninja sword. Ninja sword now, 6 foot long. But you got that dude. He's a black belt in ancient weapons, ancient Chinese weapons. He's He's got all of his belts for that stuff, and he has been an instructor of those. I think I'm right about that. Chinese, Japanese, something.
Yeah.
And, they done took his guns because he's not riding ahead. He don't have.
He's doing what he had to do, right?
Yeah, he done come out in the yard, got this big ninja sword, and freaked this cop out. I seen him. I'm used to that. He walks up down the driveway with that sword. But it's Naomi said 6 foot ninja sword is what keeps the neighbor's kids out of the dog in the yard. But he was bound and determined that there was somebody trying to get in the back door of his house, and he was going to protect his home. That's all he had.
Yeah.
Well, another time, my parents' home is next door to where I'm at now. They passed on, but a friend of mine had pulled in out there. Just was getting dark because the house was empty, and they wanted to know if it was for rent. So they pulled up, and it was just when they pulled in, the lights went under the carport and shined into the backyard. And she said somebody stood up and run. And she called me and she said, Billy, somebody's out here at your parents' house. So I grabbed my pistol, jump in the truck, take off out the street, pull in. I said, where are they at? And she said, they run into the pine patch up above the house. Well, I don't know what that was. I don't know. There's nothing.
I've seen that stuff, I've heard stories that brought up, I just remembered this. There was a police officer I worked with years ago. He was a little bit older than me, but we were friends. We grew up in the same little town, little country area. And he said, now his patrol car was at his house, right? Mm-hmm. And where he lived, the roads were so bad that we called one of them the goat trail. Because I got some feedback somewhere. That you got it?
Yeah, I cut it off. It was somebody called.
Okay. So Peyton does me like that when I do on my phone. He's the one that calls. I'm like, oh, quit. And he said he had somebody mess around his house. He didn't get a good look at them, but they jumped the fence.
Yeah.
And where he was at now, there was activity, right? And you know what? I need to talk to him about that. He's still around. He's not much older than me, and I need to ask him, did he get a good look? Because I believe he said when he saw the person, it was close to the woodpile and it jumped the fence. I need to pick his brain a little bit, because who in their right mind? The what?
I said, that's like his two ladies, this girl that called me. There is no reason in the world they would have called me to tell me a lie about something like that.
Right. And
no reason in the world. They saw something.
And who's gonna with this? I have so many people named Kevin around here, but with Kevin, I always thought it was odd. The county, they get to carry their cars home.
Yeah. And
his car is sitting there, and the person ran back to the woods, and there's nothing back in there. There's no, so you know what? I am actually going to get in touch with him and see if I can, I don't want to put anything in his mind, but maybe after all these years, he might actually tell me the truth, because a lot of that didn't make sense. But, and it don't make, and getting to your story, people know better. The local people know better than to be messing around outside.
Well, it goes back to the story with my grandpa and his steel. When they started telling people about it, they like to laugh. Oh, y'all just over there drinking more than y'all jarring up. You're drinking right. It. You ain't running it for, surplus. But the thing of it was, the aftermath, the thing of it was, my grandfather passed away when I was 14. I'm my next birthday I'll be 65. So you do the math. That's been a lot of years.
It's been a while ago.
Yeah, I had timber to cut back here at in the hollow where they were running liquor, and the timber cutter come down here and he said, "Hey man," he said, "you know somebody's been running liquor over in your hollow." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "We found all kind of we found all kind of stuff." He said, "It's been a while, but there's all the steel and stuff still sitting there." Well, I'd never been in there to look. You know, it's a big, deep hollow. I'd never been in to look, and he come back and was telling me, and I said, "Man, that's where Granddaddy." So those three guys came out of the woods that next morning, and they started telling people, and people was laughing and cutting, and giving them a hard time about, "Oh, y'all just drunk." Well, maybe there wasn't, because those three guys didn't go back.
See, when you abandoned your project, that told me all I need to know. When they abandon the steel, because that stuff, I mean, if you're making moonshine, you're having a tough time anyway, and you don't want to waste things. If you, the only reason I would say to abandon the steel would be if I
didn't say when Granddaddy and them run.
Yeah.
They didn't have all the jars in a gunny sack on their back. I didn't say that. I just said they didn't go back.
They didn't go back. I mean, look. Oh yeah, yeah. Pyro. This was before that stuff moved in. Yeah. Now I'm starting to wonder how many people is more people that I get contacting me and telling me stories and don't want to be on the show. Seems like I get more of that than the other. Now I'm starting to wonder how many people have stories, in my location and your location, that they die. The stories die with the people, if they don't talk about them.
It's like everything. As the old people dies off, you lose all that.
Yeah, the knowledge. You use the knowledge of how to. Y'all, I got a story to tell y'all. That this is not about Bigfoot, but that's the perfect lead in for this. And this happened at Heather's work. And I'm not going to say any names because I think they might watch the show sometimes. So this happened. It sounds like a bad joke, but it happened. So Heather works at a bank, and when you work at a post office or a bank in a small town, people are like, "You're the information center." We had a store in a small little place. We were the information center. Hey, what time does the convenience center, trash convenience center close on Wednesdays or whatever? I'm like, why don't you call them? But they talk to people they trust or whatever. So they got the phone ring, and the girl answered the phone, and she's as country as I am. She's young. She said, "Hey y'all," covered the phone. "Hey y'all, Miss So and So's wanting to know if there's a florist in town." And they're like, and I'm paraphrasing because I wasn't there. So, literally, if you look out that window right there, that building over there, that's florist. And no, not that's a flower shop. I'm talking about a florist. And she's wanting to know about a florist. That's the flower shop. And they're confused and they look around and they're like, what do you think a florist is? And she said, somebody who does wood floors and carpet. Like, no. So I had to get that out. It was eating me up. I just sat there and was just in awe of that story because that's awesome. And it happened. Real life is funnier than, my dog is making noises. But, I think I got cats we got neighborhood cats during the winter. Everybody takes care of them. And in the wintertime, if you've got a way under your house and it's warm, you might be their host for the evening. You know what I mean? And they'll make noises under the house, and I won't, if it's cold, I won't run them off, but I try to keep them out of there. But anyway, um, so yeah, uh, how many have you ever, since you started talking to everybody and learning things and watching? I know you watch a lot of YouTube and these documentaries and stuff. Have you found any sign other than, like tracks are hard? Tracks are like the holy grail type thing, Um, but like some of the tree breaks or anything like that or structures, I know I've seen a million things over my life and had no idea what it could have been, and I've never seen, of course, I don't know who has seen one make something like this or break a tree, but there you go again. You can look at it and tell what didn't do it. You can rule out machinery. It's like some of these trees they find stuck in the ground upside down,
Yep.
and they'll have scuff marks on the side from the machinery that did it. Somebody did it as a joke, but also there's some that don't. Have you have you seen or found anything like that? Or do you even look at? I mean, I know you're not a researcher. I'm not either, really. It's just we have these things around here, and I've started paying attention a little more, I guess.
Well, I got a couple of stories I could tell on that, but I'm really saving it. I'm really saving those because they happened on one of these one of them, Spencer and I were
Okay.
doing a project, and I don't want to talk about that unless I'm talking about it with him.
Oh, that's fine.
And then the other one was at a meet and greet, and I don't want to talk about that because I was with other people that were putting the meet and greet on, Spencer and Mark, and there were two other people with me. So, and we haven't even to this point. It's been 2 or 3 months since Talladega, and we still have not discussed it amongst the three of us. So I don't know exactly. I know what I saw.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what they interpreted what they saw.
But oh. Have you told the story about Holland's Hunter count publicly yet?
No.
Okay.
I want to save.
Okay, I understand, y'all.
If or Spencer wants to talk about it, I'll come back on and tell about it. If they don't, that's cool too. But it was their thing, and I just happened to be there. I honestly didn't want to be where I was at. But,
you told me privately, and it's a really good story. But the thing is, I respect that because, and that's another thing, y'all. If you when you find people that will hold things close to the vest until it's time to let out, you can trust those people too. And I wasn't sure. It's a good one. And the thing is, it's scary because I was there, but I think I had left, right? Is it after I left? Or no, I wasn't even there that one. That's the one.
You were having so much trouble with your hip, you didn't show up at that time.
That's right. Okay. Well, it's a good thing. That place scares me.
It's a good thing.
But yeah, I want to show y'all. I know some of y'all saw this on the Woodwalkers page. We, we've that place that we had the rock thrown at us in 2020. I'll go through this really quick and get to the new one. But there's the X. When I saw it, I was shocked, really shocked, because that's leading to the left to where we got the rock thrown, but it was previous to that. And I'm gonna go through just some stuff we found real quick, and then I'll get to the new one. I've got too much stuff on here, y'all.
Roger, was those trees that were crossed root balls? Were there holes where they come out of the ground?
If I remember correctly, one of them was, the other one wasn't.
That's just
Like
like one that
like
we found.
one of them was pushed over, and it had been there. That's where it grew, and that's where it died, or whatever. I don't know, but it had been pushed over. But the other one had been brought in. I believe the one that was pushed over and laid in uh, the crook of the other tree so it would stay up. Then
Uh-huh.
the other one was brought in from somewhere else, and I'm sure those wood somewhere. And it was placed, and I didn't think about that for a long time. And I went back up there just to check those root balls out. And we had to take them, scrape leaves back and everything. And yeah, so one of them had been there, and the other one hadn't. Very good question. And here's a cool little tree that I found in the same area this time. Uh, it's just almost looked like a pitchfork with that little piece in the middle. That ain't got nothing to do with Bigfoot, y'all. I don't even know why I put it on here. But I'm supposed to have these other breaks on here. If I don't, I'll show you the new one. So, and I'll explain what has happened. So this is the very first one. Now see those thorns, Billy. Those.
It's not up on I can't see it yet.
Oh, you can't see it. Okay. So
Okay.
that break right there was the second break we found, but the first one like this. And then Peyton found one the next year. That one's about 5.5 foot, and Peyton's the next one was 10 or so. But I know y'all have seen this before, but these are the new ones. So he called me, and he said, "You're not going to believe what I just run up on." And he'd already inspected it really good. Let's see here. Okay, so this one's bigger round, and it's split. It's the same type of tree. Probably done sometime during the summer. And what Kane was talking about how they're a form of communication. So we started looking at it a little different. This is break number 4, but it's 3 in the same pathway, right? The others are leading to Peyton's stand, which they came up after Peyton placed his stand up the hill, and they're broke over 2 things, like something reached in and broke them down. This one is if you walk onto his stand, this one is a new one, but it's before you get there, but it's broke and pointed towards 2 new stands down the other ridge, because there's people hunting on there now that weren't before this year for the first time. He found this one, and I'll show you that should show you how big it is. And that's just ripped loose. But it's not like the others. It's not 2 broken. It's one where it points one certain way. And then there's if you look directly behind that limb and those trees up on the ridge back there, that's where his stand is. But the new people are down this other way. So anyway, I don't know what it means, but we are starting to pay attention a little more in a different way because of Kane. Kind of give us all of us information of how it could be some sort of communication between the Bigfoots, right?
Right.
So
I got were the brakes pointing toward new stand?
Yes. Now check this out. The first one we found in 2020, and as I stepped past it, that's the one that we had the rock tossed and my phone went off. Okay. Y'all have heard that story a million times, but that one was a single break, hardwood, and it was pointing. I wasn't paying attention at the time, but like I said, since Kane, you know how treasure runners are. You know what I mean? Trailblazers, and if I'm in a place and I'm coming out after dark and I ain't been there much, I'll snap little limbs and twigs. So next to a big tree, I'll pick a big tree that I won't confuse, and then I'll pick a little tree beside it and I'll snap a limb. So if I get turned around coming out in dark, which I've done before, that's why I do this. I'll find that big tree if it looks like it, and I'll look over and I'm like, yeah, that's definitely it, right? Because I just come through here. So I started looking at it like that. That tree was broken, and it was pointed towards the pond and the spring. Okay, I didn't think about that early on. Now thinking about it different, what is over there? Don't know if it means anything, but we're going to remember that. The next two breaks was after Peyton put his stand up, and there was 1 year and then another year later, and they're broken like somebody, like two hands broke them down like this. Okay, his stand is 12 o'clock from those two breaks. This one is broken down and to the right, and it points right to where those new stands are. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying it means anything, but we put things out there. Maybe in 5 years, somebody might need this information. You know, maybe they're picking up. So right now, you know, just throwing out guesses. We'll keep an eye out, see if the pattern continues. Maybe the double breaks means straight ahead. There's danger straight ahead, or be careful, or stop. Like the X, right? They say the X means. Some people say that. I don't know, if it's true or not, or something may be there. Well, I remember as a young hunter, I left one time, and we didn't have cell phones. I left early. I was hungry or thirsty. Our store was a mile down the road. I took my bow, and I walked to the store. My dad, I left him an arrow on the hood of the truck, pointed towards the store. We never talked about that, right? Never talked about it. But I had the arrow pointed where I went. And I went through the woods, through, whatever, through across the creek and all that, and then across the fence onto the road, and then I went to the store. He shows up a little while later, and he's just laughing at me. He said, I figured that's what that was. So I had that arrow pointing where I went. So it's not out of the possibility. I know if you watch these shows that the treasure hunters and some of the gold that was left behind in war times, and they carve on a rock, and this means this and this means that, and this arrow means, there's different signs for stuff like that. So if something is intelligent enough that like we think they are, that would be a very basic way, like me being a stupid kid, putting that arrow down, and my daddy understood it without us saying anything. So anyway, I don't know. It's all speculation, but we're gonna keep it in mind, And in other people, if y'all go out and y'all find this stuff, kind of remember, like, what is this pointing to? Is this pointing to a food source? Is it pointing to a water source? Is it pointing to a danger? Some of you people that hunt with stands and stuff, if you find a tree break like that's double, is the danger at 12 o'clock approximately? And that might be a different thing. I don't know. But
maybe that stop right here, you're in sight.
Yeah, if you go past this point, they're gonna be able to see you. Yeah. And what was funny was I had watched a lot of the YouTube stuff and I hadn't had anything happen since 80, 85, 86, 87, right in there, and before that, but I didn't know. But at the time, but I saw that break, and we were scouting that place for the first time. I'd hunted on it years ago, long time ago, before Peyton was born, and I had seen enough of the documentaries and stuff. When I saw it, I immediately started looking at it, and I did like that to Peyton, like, look at that break. We're being quiet. And he looked confused, and we started looking up. We're looking around. There's nothing that fell on it. There's no scuff marks. at all, and it's hardwood, and when it broke, it splintered. It exploded. You know what I mean? And we're looking around. I'm thinking, I don't see a reason for this thing to be broke naturally. And a cow didn't do it. It was way above a cow's back. 5.5, 6 foot. And so in my mind, I'm like, is this one of those markers they talk about on the? I'm thinking this, and I be damned. I stepped past it, and that's when all the stuff happened. When I stepped past that thing up the hill, that's when the rock was thrown, and that's when my phone went off. So I don't know. I'm gonna tell y'all. I don't know, but I think we need to get. So with this information out there, you may run up on some stuff, and Billy, you might see things happening kind of like that, or you may figure out what it is, and you say, Roger, it ain't that, it's this. That's where I'm at. I'm not gonna be offended if somebody educates me, So I'm just like spitballing and throwing ideas out there. So
I just noticed somebody put on there that they feel like we're starting to understand a little bit of their language, and the reason that is because people sharing.
Yes.
They're not everything under the hat, and they're talking about it. Especially in our little groups.
Yep.
Our little groups, we talk about everything.
Yep. And I never would have looked at it like that if Kane hadn't have said that on the Halloween show. We were, or whatever we were doing. It was Misty and Greg, and Kane come on for a little while, and he was telling something about that, and so that kind of changed my whole way of thinking. And it's and so the past 4 years we've had things happen, but it's like we know like it's time to go. We can go 15 times with nothing, and then you go in, you don't see any deer, you don't see any squirrels, you don't see any rabbits, the birds are quiet, and you're like, uh-oh. And then you hear something, and I text Peyton, I said, you think we ought to leave, or he texts me, he's there by himself. I'm letting you know I'm on the way out. This happened, blah, blah, blah. So
it don't happen every minute or every day, I don't think.
No. And
like when I stopped at Craig's on my way home, spent a couple of nights, and everybody talked about, oh man, you went to the man cave. I said, yeah. Mm-hmm. They said, what was it like? We had a great visit. Me and Greg hung out for 2 days, and he carried me around and showed me where everything was, and blah, blah. But what about the boogers? I ain't seen no boogers. Yeah. But I didn't see no boogers. But if it ain't boogery, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I believe everything Greg said. Greg carried me places and showed me things, and now I'm in the very spot where that happened, and I'm sitting here and playing through my mind what he has told and what people have said, and I see it happening. I can see it happening. We're at that spot. There's not a doubt in my mind. Alabama is the city down there, man. I have never. When I LBL, everybody talks about LBL. I didn't have all those feelings, although we did have something in behind us. Something smacked y'all's tent.
Yep.
Wendell heard a limb break right behind where I was camped. The next morning, we found a partial track.
Yeah.
Wendell found it. I didn't find it. But quoting Rebecca Green, things like that don't happen to me.
Yeah.
And I'm just not expecting it. I'm down there I'm having a good time. I'm just having a good time. And, I noticed dogs. Honey, she's upset. I see Misty's dogs upset, and they're all watching that little trail back behind our camps. And it was stuff in and out of there making noise all hours of the night.
Yeah. I was standing there talking to Misty and JR, and they were over at their tent, and we're standing there talking, and Greg's up there talking, and it's later in the day, it's still daylight. And we're all talking, and I saw their little dog ears perk up, and she turned towards behind them, that hollow goes back in there. And I was watching her. I was still listening to everybody, but I was watching her. And that nose started, they're smelling. They're trying to get, in the ear. And I'm like, and I pointed, I missed him. I'm like, y'all, she's locked on to something. You pay attention to the animals, because you're right. You were around our dog long enough to know people are scared of her, but she's she just looks. She's a sweetheart, but she's a people person, but she's not. She wants to play with other dogs, but she plays rough. So that's why we keep her kind of reined in. Now Peyton's got some big dogs. I think. Did you see his German Shepherd? So I'll turn her loose with him because he'll put her in her place, and
Right.
he'll knock her down. But yeah, there was times where when that thing walked behind our tent, she growled just barely growled, and I reached down and touched her. And that's a form. Listen, y'all, that was a form of communication. I didn't know, but this worked. She heard this thing. I could hear it breathing. Now I felt like Greg and his talking about we're talking about tents, and we talked about them little sleeping hammocks like you inside of a burrito.
No,
and you can't make a quick getaway. I mean, you're inside these things. It takes some effort to get out of them. And so communication with my dog.
Well, that was Greg and several of them talking about Patrick's tent getting unzipped. What? Come on now, Pat. But I've heard 3 or 4 other people since we were there camping. 3 or 4 other people on other shows talking about their tent getting unzipped.
Yep.
Now I'm holy cow! You're not putting me in a tent, and you are not putting me in a hammock.
Well, check this out. So you were at the man cave, and you know where his recliner is. Did he tell you about the story about the smaller one that jumped on the roof and ran over and stopped right above him? Well, I'm listening to the story, and Greg would be an awesome investigator. He does police work and all that stuff. He just don't do it because he has to live with them, right? He don't want to mess them up. He don't mess with them and make them mad. So he's telling me this story, and I 100% believe him. I'm just sitting there thinking about it. And he said when it took off running, it went that way and it went right there and blah blah blah. So I go outside, and that pine tree that's that close to is to the wall right off the. I'm like, I went and looked, and it's skint a little bit, the bark skinned a little bit where something might have slid down it. I'm like, Greg, come here, check this out. And he's like, oh, the story makes sense.
Yeah.
If it run off, grab that thing. It's like a firefighter pole, basically.
Well, that's like the famous propane tank. I went out to check that thing out, trying to figure out. There's been a lot of people seeing that booger right there around that propane tank.
Yeah.
Heck, he's got a great escape route. They could come in there from any direction and be standing and be just raised up all of a sudden right behind that propane tank like they did on Al, and I can see it.
Yep. Well, check. Okay. So where the propane tank is, and then his porch is.
Yeah.
Well, he said something really early in the morning, pulled on his storm door.
Yeah.
Of course, it was locked. I do the same thing I did the last time I was there. It's rolling in my head. I go over there, and I'm looking of how that could have happened and how long the arm, and it was perfect for a long arm. I couldn't do it with mine, but if I was 2 foot taller and my arm was a foot longer, it would have been perfect. And so what it looked like happened with that greasy arm hair print on the door is that it reached over that railing and grabbed the door and tugged on it. And I'm like, I go running like, great, look. I tore up because I'm like, oh my God, I may have pictures of it, y'all. Some of y'all have seen it. I'm like, I can't believe this. The evidence matched up with his story, and I don't doubt him at all. But Billy won't be able to see this. But there's the hair, some of the hair, and there's a greasy. That's where the hair. If y'all can see up in the top right, you can see some of the. We had a bunch of reflection and stuff. That greasy, and it's way taller than the dogs that are around there. So it's not, and it wasn't like they jumped up on the door and slid down the door or whatever. This went across from the rail to the door handle, and that it left that greasy stuff on there. It looked like hair hanging down, and then the dust. You know how the dust blows around or whatever and gets on your car and pollen and all that stuff. Then the dust got on it and it left. They were really, really visible. I'm not an investigator. I didn't have a kit with me. I've got one hair. I didn't get that hair. I don't know. See, it's just, but it corroborated, if that's a word, corroborated his story instantly. And it was fresh. It just happened. He told me when it happened. And I go out there and once again, I'm like, oh my God, there's the,
Pyro, is that hair white?
Well, Pyro, I didn't pull that one, but I've got the one that I collected is about right at 3 inches long, and I need some of y'all to tell me. The first inch is black, and then the transition is really fast, and it's clear. It's not white. It's clear like fiber optic, and it's definitely hair because you can see the whatever the thing at the end is where it comes out of the skin, and then at the end, well, I had a jeweler's loop and looked at the end of it. It's not cut, so it's worn down. I don't know whether I don't know what a possum hair looks like. I've never actually grabbed but I'm thinking the way a possum looks, it's gray looking and maybe it's black underneath. Did any of y'all know that? I don't know. Yeah, analytical mind. My mind is so full of stuff and I can't make sense of nothing. I want to understand stuff and I can't. I'm not smart enough.
I'm wondering why Wendell's using big college.
That hair, though, Pyro, it looked white right there, don't it? I didn't get it. I didn't grab it. I should have. I was too worried about the other side over there, and it was right staring in my face, and I don't even know if I saw it or not. Because I would think I would have collected that if I'd have seen it. But there was a lot of glare, that sun and everything, in my eyes. I was trying to get my glasses just right to get in there. And so here, the story you told about the propane tank, I hadn't said this to Greg, but I try to think about scenarios, and these things learning us and us learning them. So how many times do you think something has watched Greg or Alan or some of them open that door?
Thousands.
Reach their hand in right there because they could be what? 10 yards, 15 yards away in the dark and they wouldn't see him.
Oh, yeah.
And how many times have they seen Greg or anybody that's visited reach in and grab that thing and pull it open? Because you say, well, how would a Bigfoot know how to open a door? They sit there and watch you enough times, and it could have been one tested. You know what I'm saying?
We was down there. It's like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and the kids next door down below them are still down in the yard playing and squealing. I'm nervous as a cat. I'm thinking, man, it wouldn't take nothing for this thing to come out of the woods and just pick one of them up and walk right over. I mean, all they're going to do is cross the driveway and they're in the woods and gone again, And
yep.
I'm thinking, holy cow. I said, these people, if they know what goes on right up above them, how can they leave their kids out there in the yard? I've worried about them kids since I got home.
Yeah.
Just like Kumbo turning around in the driveway when his light swung around. One walked where the kids were playing. One walked right through that driveway and across Greg's driveway and in the woods. Yep. I was there. We first got there. A dog or something that got into some aluminum foil he'd been cooking in. Had aluminum foil tore all over the front yard of the cabin. Well, I start picking some of it up. Greg walks around to the back and is talking on the telephone over in the side yard. He's at the back of the side yard. All of a sudden, I realize I'm standing out here picking up aluminum foil, and there might be a booger standing right over there. Booger might take aluminum foil off. I'm going back around where Greg's at.
Yep.
I cleaned aluminum foil up real quick, went around the house.
And now, if I hadn't have known the stories and just walked up there,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd have felt like that or not. But uh, it's got a certain feel to it. We stayed out there till 4 o'clock in the morning. It was Greg, me, and Heather, and Misty, and Jr. And we were out there just talking. We had the light on. At one point, Misty turned the porch light off, and I come up. I was like, no, this old boy ain't sitting out here in the dark.
Greg and I was sitting there talking one night, and he said, "Yeah, usually when the boogers hit, bang on the house, they hit right beside your bed in there."
Yep.
Knowing my luck, I think the booger reaches through the wall and grab me and drag me out. But
And Pyro being here, he makes me. No, I didn't thought about that. I mean, after I saw that when I was young, I didn't want to sleep next to a wall. I ain't never told nobody that. I remember that now that you've said that. I remember I always liked scooting the bed up next to the wall and sleeping, right up next to the wall. After I saw that crap, and then I started reading stuff, in the library, what little stuff they had about red eyes looking in the window and stuff like that. I wouldn't sleep next to the wall. So yeah, it messes with you. But Pyro, hold on a second. Yeah. So you're talking about communication, and I talked to Yehola out in Oklahoma, and he was on the show, and he had made the comment, which we all know this, but I'm in Tennessee, and I might call something a water faucet. North Alabama, it might be a spigot. Y'all may have another word for it, and there's things like that it's the same thing. We just call it different stuff. Well, people are thinking, "Wow, there's all these weird creatures out there," and Yehola made the comment, was like, "I think we're talking about the same things. We just all have different names for them, And we're starting to share some of that. And I asked him about one thing. He said, "Oh, I'm not telling you because if I speak the name, it might show up." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." But I love the fact that we can share information. Pyro was telling a story that was pretty amazing. He was at a conference close to him, and he this guy had recorded something, didn't know what it was, and he was showing this fella, and Pyro wasn't in the conversation. There was another guy. He said they heard it at the same time, and it didn't sound human, but it sounded like what language was it, Pyro? I don't want to misspeak. It was, but he heard a few words, and he was. We got to get him to tell that story sometime. I don't want to, but they were communicating. They were talking. I'm not going to say it because it'll be wrong if he's still here. It was a language he recognized, and another guy recognized. He said, "Did you hear that?" I said, "Yeah." But see, y'all in chat, y'all open these can of worms, and it gets me going down, different thought. And I'm glad y'all do.
I was 4 different
See, look,
languages.
it's like Sharon. She's across the pond, and she'd be. I would be sleeping in the broom cupboard. I don't have a broom cupboard, but I have a broom cupboard. You know what I mean? We don't call it that. That's exactly what I'm saying. Because depending on where you're from, what you call things, right? So it's the same thing. He said it was okay. Yeah, see, I didn't want to misspeak. He said it was 4 blended languages, y'all. So how do you get 4 blended languages? You get 4 blended languages by being passed down, intermingling, and you know what I mean. You have. I can give y'all an example of that. One of my best friends in this world, he lives in Memphis now, but he was born in Texas. He lived there for 8 years. He moved to Michigan. His daddy was in the car business, in building cars. He was in the He's like a paint engineer. He would design the departments. He was that high up. So he would have to move. So he was born in Texas. He lived there for 8 years, went to school there, went to Michigan. He was in Detroit somewhere. He lived on 10 Mile Road, he said. I don't know where that's at, but it's 10 Mile Road for 8 years. He moved here in his sophomore year of high school. He was here 8 or 10 years, and now he's in Memphis. His brothers, they opened a business. So the point I'm getting to is come up blended languages or blended work, whatever. He still had the Texas in him. He had some Detroit in him, and then we put the Tennessee in him. And after him being here 4 or 5 years, there would be phrases coming out of his mouth, and I'd be driving down the road. I'm like, "What the hell did you just say?" He would blend them, you know. And sometimes he'd say y'all, sometimes he'd say you guys, sometimes he would say pop. We got him away from that. I said, here's what it is. Everything here in the Southeast, if you ask somebody what they want to drink, they say Coke. But it's up to you to know what they actually want. Like he said Coke, but he wants a Dr. Pepper. He said Coke, but he likes Sundrop. He said Coke, he wants Coke. So a lot of these, check this out. So Cherokee, Choctaw, Spanish, and Natchez, the mound builders language. Pyro, I need you on my show. Or just talk to you. I mean, I'd love to just talk to you too. Because I want to know all this stuff. And then when people share it with me, I'm like, oh, that's too much. Get out of here. I don't want I can't process all this. So basically the story is what this guy recorded. There was 2 boogers, Bigfoot, whatever. There were some people that didn't know they were there, and the 2 boogers were having a conversation. And I think he said the male wanted to know what do, like ask what do, and I think one of them said scare. So then they start making noise and scare everybody away. But if I think I got the base of that story, it's amazing. They listened to it, and it's basically two Bigfoot communicating in 4 different languages on what they needed to do. What do we do now, basically? But it was in broken, That I don't know about y'all, but that's amazing to me. So you I'm a mutt like most of us. I've got German, Scotch Irish, who knows what else, Cherokee on both sides. I never got to talk to any of most of my kinfolk really.
That's interesting.
My grandmother, great grandmother was Lydia Gray Eyes, and I talked to a lady over in Cherokee, North Carolina, and she kind of told me because she had gray eyes, and I wanted to talk to her, and some of the things she explained to me was kind of went along with all that. Yes, they were talking about a frog pond and where it was from. What I deciphered, frog pond. Oh, I got a question for everybody. Hose pipe. Yep, Patrick. That's what I say. Hose pipe. What do you say, Billy? What's the outdoor water? You got hose pipe, spigot. Where you turn the water on at? What do y'all call it in West Virginia?
Well, we turn it on. I'm in Virginia, but we call it this.
Okay, you're in wet. Like okay, I'm sorry. I remember Spencer.
Hey, we didn't want all them hills and mountains.
Spencer said, I'm in Western Virginia, not West Virginia. I'm like, well, quit saying that.
He fell out. He's a transplant. He don't count.
Okay. What do you?
You say Spencer. You say Spencer who?
No, man. he called me the other day. I was on the way home, and I like the way we can talk about things because when you're not afraid to hurt somebody's feelings, you can have honest conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, he know. I mean,
That's right. I tell Spencer the truth. I ain't scared to hurt his feelings.
right. That's right. I mean, you can when you have friends like that. I know, if I spent 30 years and I pretty much knew something, I would probably defend, and I still will. Like I'm like, nah, I think it's this. But you need to be around people you can say that. Yeah, they can correct you, but you got to realize it. Just like the language, it may be different over in Texas than it is here with certain animals and creatures and whatever, because everything's different depending on the environment, right? So nozzle and hose, yeah. There's all kind of. I remember. I remember getting one of the best laughs of my life over a spigot. But anyway, I've told that story before. I won't get into that. But Billy, I mean, I know you told me so much. I don't even know. The I don't know if I got distracted or not. But the one where your girlfriend saw the thing jump, and like I said, it ruled out a lot of stuff. When it jumped, it was big as it was, and it jumped. That reminds me of Greg seeing the one. Did he show you where he saw the one jump into the road?
Yeah. No. He showed me more stuff in about 45 minutes than I've heard in Virginia in my life.
Yep. Hydrant. Yep. Yeah. And that reminds me of the one he saw. It was a slope. And he said when it jumped to one leg. The power in one leg to go up and over and out into the road, several an incline that was pretty good, that's when and you see it, that's incredible,
Yeah.
So maybe we need to do some stories on some connections of what these things are called in different areas. I know we did a show one time, and I think it was with Kumbo and Greg and Joe when it went 6 hours. We talked about so much I can't remember, but we're talking about they're called different things in different spots, and then people started, people that don't even know us have made comments on that. Y'all go read the comments. There's 98% of them are positive, but there were people went that we don't know. They don't subscribe to our shows. Went and started looking at maps close to their homes and started finding Booger Holler and
Yeah.
all these names, and then like, oh, wait a minute. So then what that does, they can start asking older folks, well, why is it called this? So it's like a pyramid scheme type thing. Once you put an idea out there and you spread the knowledge, then it gives people ideas on how to go and start. Maybe, who knows, somebody that saw that may end up solving the whole thing.
Well, it's like between you and I on 81, there's a place called Werewolf Springs. Why is it called Werewolf Springs, I wonder?
Well, there's a place between me and the LBL. If y'all watch Elijah Henderson and his sister, and they're not at the LBL where they live, but they're close. They're up in Dixon, Montgomery Bell State Park, and all that. I seen them go live at Werewolf Springs. There, right? So he tells how that got the name. So I would say it probably pretty similar on how, in that we need to do a search. Need to find a way to do a search, like, it'd be easy because you type it into Google Maps, and every one of them will probably pop up. I'm gonna start doing. I got a lot of free time with this hip, so, and y'all, I know some of y'all. I haven't put out like, hey, me and Billy are gonna be talking, and we're gonna do it at 12:00. We didn't know until 15 minutes before we did this. And I have to work around the pain a little bit too. So I took my little pain thing, and it'll go for a little bit and then wear off. But I'll do some shows like this, and we'll try to plan some. But if anybody wants to contact me, there's the squatchandholler@gmail.com. Send me an email, and if you want to, look, it's only got to be like 5 minutes. If you got a story, we would love to hear it because it may help some people.
Don't believe him. He told me he was going to be talking about tree breaks. He's had here for I don't know how long.
We'll be talking about aliens and stuff before long. But
it's turned into one of them 6-hour Kumbo shows.
How long we've been on? I ain't even look. Hour and 30 minutes. Yes, Pyro. Is this another equipment check? It was at the first 2-3 minutes. And a lot of people won't watch it later because they'll see that, and I mean, the ones that know us, they'll hang in there. So in Texas, it's a fire plug fireman hooked up to. Them things are called different things here too. See you, Flat Rock. He probably done left 2 minutes ago. Yeah, there's Don. I talked to Don, my former game warden buddy, yesterday, and I talked to him about 3 hours. I'm gonna ask y'all a question, and while we got people in here, but something Greg said about, I told him it was a weird day, opening day, and we had a lot of weird stuff happen that day, and he made the point that it just been in Peyton for the last 4 or 5 years, and then those 2 extra family members that are now on the place may have them shook up. Billy had said it too. He said the same thing in the text earlier, that this new stuff going on may have them, and we hadn't had issues with the boogers. I kind of, said hey a couple of times and let them know, kind of acknowledged we knew it was there, and we walked out and nothing happened. But so this is the kind of type of conversation we have with Greg, Misty, Don, and privacy. How many of y'all have the M in your palm? Do you know, do you have one?
Have a what?
A M. See that M right there? I don't know if you can see that M. No. Yeah. Holy you got it.
I know I got it.
You have another one?
Yep. Maybe even clearer.
Oh my God. Okay. So everybody in chat, do y'all have them? I know everybody's not going to, but so Wendell's got an M. I thought everybody did. I've always had them, so I thought everybody did. But since I started asking people, it's pretty rare.
Really?
Yes. Look it up. Look at how rare it is. It's less than 1% having it on both palms.
Huh. Well, I see Wendell does and Jeff Yarrington does.
Does he? Okay.
You got them both?
Jesse does. Sharon does. My suspicions are being confirmed, y'all. Y'all go look that up. I'm not into palm reading and all that stuff. I was told something. Holy shit. I'm sorry about the language, kinda. Huh.
What about you, Judy?
I mean, it's okay if you don't. It's just, I'm wondering because
trying to figure out.
Patrick Noble does.
Ain't that something?
So go look. The paraphrasing. I watched a video on YouTube. About, because Misty brought it up, of course. I think, and I watched the thing on YouTube. It's about 15 minutes. Y'all go, just do a search, and what the guy explained of what it is and how people that have these are was just about 100%.
Mark Green does.
Mark got up both. Y'all, this is crazy because the stat that I looked up, it was less than 1%, way less than 1% with both of you, with both palms. And some people have, Don, and he's dabbled in some of that stuff, so he kind of explained. He told me what it meant, and it's so here's what memory it triggered. No. Oh man, I love this. I missed it. Hold on. 5% club. I ain't even gonna check. He's so if you look this stuff up and it might be one we're all interested in this stuff. Let's just put it that way. In all this stuff things we're talking about. And if the majority of us do have this, and then I don't know about the ones that don't, but there's probably a connection of what they have, you know what I mean, that's drawn to the people that do, and vice versa. That's all I'm gonna. But that'll give y'all something to look up. Billy, just y'all just Google what I think I googled. What does the M in the mark in the palm mean? And then I went from there. And then you can go to YouTube and all that. So that'll give y'all something to do. It basically we're probably all like-minded. And Billy, are you artistic in any way? You play guitar, don't you? You sing?
But some they claim I do. Really not.
I'm the same way. Here's how I am. I can do a little bit of everything, but I'm not good at anything.
Exactly.
That sound kind of.
That's exactly who I am.
Yep. I could draw Billy right now, and y'all would know who it was. But Billy would shoot me. He'd drive to Tennessee and shoot me for what you know what I mean. I can take a picture and draw, but I'm not an artist. You know, does that make sense? I can write. I play the guitar, but I'm not. I don't have what some of my friends have, where they just automatically know what chords to go to, and they know, they're just naturals. And but yeah, y'all go look that up and let me know what you find. I think I know what you're gonna find. It's interesting, but it triggered that memory. That lady that was in that country store that time, it's probably 4 years ago, maybe. I was working for the lottery, and I was in this out in the middle of nowhere, and I was talking to the owner, and this lady was kind of involved in the situation, and I didn't remember how this got triggered, but when we started talking about this, I remembered how it got triggered. So we were talking, and I was, telling stories and stuff, and she said, "Can I see your palm?" And like I let her see it, and she said, "Can I see the other one?" And I let her see it, and I'm leery of that too. I think Jesse or somebody said I'm scared of stuff like that, or maybe it was Sharon, or and I'm like, and she that's when she looked at me and smiled. She said, "You don't even know, do you?" I didn't know why she had said that. I'd forgotten, but when we started talking about it, I said, "I think that's what it was." That she said, because it was so quick, and she didn't even tell me. I was like, "Wait, what? You just gonna walk?" I didn't tell her this. You're gonna say something like that and just walk out? So maybe I was supposed to find out in my time. I don't know, but I'm gonna start looking at a lot. Jeff Yarrington, both palms. Now, y'all that don't, I would. I don't want to open up any can of worms, but if you don't, look it up, and it may mean something else, and we may be like this right here. You know what I'm saying? Similar or drawn to each other or whatever.
Well,
Go ahead.
Greg, Mark, and Misty and myself has always talked about how we all came together. It's kind of strange how we all came together.
Yep, it is.
It really is. We're from all over the country, from all over the place, and there's some kind of reason.
Wendell. Yep.
but we're all drawn to each other for some reason. I don't know why that is.
Yep.
Like I
Yep.
said, I started going to meet and greet to meet these people because I was drawn to meet them. You know, I wanted to see who these people were.
That's the word. That's the
And,
word right there. Drawn.
you know,
Yep.
I was drawn to these people. And that's like somebody said, Pyro's here at LBL. I'm running around. I said, well, what's he look like? They said, oh, man, okay. I didn't realize I'm gone. You know, I know where he's at. I know what he looks like. I know exactly. I done seen him. And
Well,
when said we're kind of basically all over the world, you know.
yep.
And that's
Yep.
true, you know.
And he was sly. He walked up to me, and he had walked by. I mean, I was trying to meet everybody, especially if I recognized them, like from shows and stuff like that. But like you came up to me, I didn't know you. We had texted or something. You said we were in communication a little bit and on Messenger or something. And then so we ended up beside you, and you came up, I think. And then, but I think Pyro walked by, and I saw him because he's hard to miss. He's a pretty good sized feller. And I was up at Greg's later at the meet and greet, and he walked up, and I looked at his work jacket, and then I looked at him, and it's like on Friends when Joey's trying to come to they're like, get there faster. That's what my brain was like. It was starting to become clear. Like, Pyro. He said, yeah. I got jumped up and gave him a hug. But it's yeah, man, he drove what, Oklahoma? That's crazy. But he drove from Oklahoma. He's probably closer than you were.
You know, I'd like to really look into that. You know, Gary Spikes, has he got an M?
Yeah.
Greg, has he got M's?
Greg
Misty,
does. Greg
Greg,
Misty do. Greg and Misty do.
that's crazy.
I ain't got an answer from Spencer yet. But and another thing we were talking about now, this you talking about throwing spitballs, right? Me and Don yesterday. I know this is going to sound crazy, but how many of y'all have really good peripheral vision? You know what I'm talking? Yeah.
I think
Well, the reason this, okay, I'll tell you why I was thinking about this. Some people go through life, which is okay, with blinders on, right? They're tunnel vision, they're focused on something, whatever, and I see it all the time. They don't see a car almost hit them. They don't. You know, Heather, we can drive by, and Heather's like, "Oh, did you see that old car?" And I can still be looking ahead and back behind me at 7 o'clock. I say, "The red one back there." She's like, "How you do that?" I'm like, well, "I don't know what kind it is. I just saw the red. I assumed that's what you're talking about." You know, and so maybe some of the more creative people, they're more enlightened people. The people are looking for, you know, information. I wonder if, because we were talking about the brain and how the brain works and how we're what percentage we use and everything. So we're different in a bunch of different ways. And I know I'm probably gonna lose y'all. But what if some of us that are built a certain way, all of you here, regardless of what you got in your palms, we were open to new ideas, or we full of wonder, you know, and we like learning new things, and we, like Greg said earlier, we think out of the box because we know there's, you know, some people you talk to about something and they shut down. They don't want to know about it. They don't want to be exposed to it. I don't know. I don't want to know nothing about Bigfoot. I'm like that with probably Dog Man. You know, I don't want to talk about that crap. You know, but for the most part, most of us seem open to all this. We kind of have to be. And I was wondering, the brain, we use a small percentage, and then we go into talking about the pineal gland and the third eye and all that. I just was wondering if there was some kind of connection, you know. that's something for another day. But it would be fun just to kind of do an experiment and talking to people that know. That's
Just
how my
like
mind.
it, if the percentage of people that have a double M's in their palms is as low as you say it is, there's got to be some kind of connection. Look at how many of us it's drawn here.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
and and I don't want to exclude people that don't.
no,
I would like to see what theirs is and what it means, and maybe that's why we're drawn to each other, right?
exactly.
I just know what I looked up. So if you go and look yours up and you can share that information with us, that might be pretty valuable because we're all drawn to each other. That's a fact.
That's fact.
It was weird how
You know,
I
we've been gone from Talladega about 2 or 3 months. Now about 2.5 months. And I've been ready to go back since I got home. But I know those people aren't there. I haven't, I'm looking forward to what's going to happen in the spring. Are we going to do a meetup? If we're not, I'm going to Talladega or I'm going somewhere and just be with these people. There's a few of us that get together. We're going to take off and we're going camping somewhere because I miss being with those people. And that may sound crazy because these are people I really don't know a whole lot about.
right.
We've
And
always.
but when you're drawn to somebody and you've already seen who you can trust, you know what I mean? Because the ones you can't trust, pretty much, they weed themselves out pretty quick. So Judy, let us know what you find out. I mean, there's charts and stuff, and I'm not saying get into palm reading. Cause I'm just saying when this guy on YouTube who has no idea who I am, and he's taped this whenever he did, when he described what this means and how the person usually is, it wasn't like it was like, oh, it wasn't like the horoscope type stuff where it's like, oh, well, that's left open. That could be. No, it was like boom, 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 A, B, C, D, E, F. It was just about everything he said described the way I believed, the way I felt, the way I'm wired, but I don't know. And so then I got to thinking, okay, well, and Spencer hadn't answered yet, so that either means no or he's busy. He's working today. I texted him earlier, so it's just
I ain't heard from him yet, so
it's just interesting. I mean, it's it may not mean anything, but the one stat I saw was like less than 1%. That's a lot of people, and to have
I'm like that too, bro.
to have 10 or 12, like you said in chat right now.
Yeah,
that's
how many people's in chat? I can't see. I don't even know how many.
There's 26 watching.
Okay, and we probably got a minimum of half of that.
Right, the ones that there.
If the percentages are that low, that's strange.
Yes, sir. That's 50%.
Pyro wants a secret handshake.
I'm not testing my sensing ability at concerts. I can look at a person and sense something about them every time I look. Yeah,
I can do that, Pyro. I've that too.
Y'all, I've done that too.
And I feel bad sometimes because I look at somebody and I'll say, I just don't like that dude right there. I've been to a bunch of places, sit with my back to the wall because I don't like the way somebody looks. And I hate that because I kind of feel like you know what I'm saying?
No, I know. Here was one. I picked my friends on how they acted in different situations because I didn't want to get drawn into some bull crap because they didn't know how to act back when I was in high school.
I thought that too, Pyro.
Wow.
Bruce, doesn't it? Isn't it funny that it resembles some of the stick symbolisms?
Mm. See, that's why I wanted to bring this up because that's the type of thinking So I told my friends we hardly ever went to bars back in the day. We would rather stay out. I would rather stay out on a creek bank, and have a fire and whatever. And we'd have a party, at somebody's house. But I always told them is if I ever look at you and say it's time to go, we're don't ask questions. You either hit the vehicle with me or I'm leaving you. And some of them were like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because I'm watching everybody."
Yep.
And you can feel the energy shift in a place like that. I don't know if it's all the alcohol and testosterone or whatever it is, but you can see the body language. And if you pay attention, you can see trouble coming.
Yep.
And there's been a bunch of times, and of course, we were on interstate for 28 years. I worked for the jail for 2 years. We were in Americus, Georgia, filling up. It was me and my mom, my nephew, my son and daughter. They were young. Peyton was about 12. He's 27 or 28 now. And we had a store, but for all those years, and I was filling up the car, and they done been inside, and they were standing outside the car, stretching their legs, and I saw these two fellas pull up and park their vehicle where the tag couldn't be seen, and it was summertime, and one of them had a long coat on, and it wasn't just that; it was the way they were looking at each other and looking around the parking lot. I said, "Get in the car now." My mom knew me well enough. My kids knew. Didn't ask a question. They would open door, get in the car. My nephew always wanted to argue. Why? Why? And my mama said, "Get in the car right now." Okay, Nana.
Take care, Pyro.
And so I explained to him going down the road. I know, Mark. That's what Billy's. That vibe is you're talking about. See, Pyro. My phone's ringing. It says potential spam, so I'm gonna trust it. But and that may be part of the, definitely the way we're all wired. It could be this. Who knows? But I'm interested in how things work or why they work or whatever sometimes, and I don't dig into a lot of things because it can get to be too much. But it's fun to talk to, like talking to you. Of course, you had booger stories. I got a few, but it's all about the interaction too and learning each other. So, I know I could tell you something and say, "Hey, man, don't tell nobody else." And we're not hiding stuff from people, y'all. Billy is not telling those stories publicly out of respect for the people who are there that have shows, and you're probably going to hear it. There's things that we don't put out there because we're not sure either. Like I'll tell people sometimes this happened, I don't know what it was, but there's some things too that possibly could have been, a sound made by a booger, but I'm not gonna turn into like everything is, I want y'all to trust me. I want us all to trust each other. So, like I said, the ones that we've had some people weed themselves out. The person that introduced me to everybody, to woodwalkers, is no longer around, and that person is dealing with some heavy stuff. Hold on. Oh, that was a medical bill collector.
Take care, Jesse.
But y'all, thank you, Jesse. Same to you. So I mean, I don't have. There's a lot of weird stuff going on now. You got the drones, and it's what is so funny is to me, the government's admitting to UFOs, and they got stuff going on everywhere, and it's like nobody cares. I don't know if it's the same thing where some people are scared to even look up
When you say nobody cares, you talking about our government?
No. Well, I'm talking about
Look at Western North Carolina. You want to see what our government cares
oh
about?
I know about that. Yeah, and that's bad. They're going to have to wait until the changeover to get any help. You're right.
People
But
around
so
here trying, we do everything we can, but can't do it so much.
that's right. And so way I am, I'm like, okay, all of these drones and supposedly UFOs, is that a distraction from something else? You know, or is it true? But nobody's talking about it. Like there people that just the regular people, it's like we've been conditioned for it. You know, movies and books and whatever. But it's just amazing. I wonder if it'll be like that for Bigfoot. Like the people that's laughed at, a bunch of us. I here's what I see happening. People that's laughed at all y'all in chat and all y'all that'll watch this later. Let's say 3 months from now, the government says, "Here's Bigfoot. We got pictures of them. We got video. We've been working with them. Blah blah blah. And here's a family that we've been working with and blah blah. Blah. They're absolutely. We're telling you they're absolutely real." And those same people that laughed at us, "Oh, I knew it all the time. I was just messing with you." You know what I mean? Or I don't know, man. I think some of them could be. I've got just theories on some of that too, and some of it's not good. But here, the only thing that's different for me now than when I was, say, 18 or 20. No, when I was younger as a kid. Now I just, after been going to church now for 5 years and been baptized. I've always been a believer, but once you know that you're on the right side, that none of that scares me anymore. The evil don't scare me. I mean, things are going to happen, and you just got to trust. It's so I think that's where the peace comes from. I mean, I'm not want to get into religion with everybody. It just with all of this stuff, I think my fear of a lot of stuff went away when that happened. So anyway, I'll get off my stump. Hey, listen, Judy brought up a great point. I wanted to be one. I love treasure hunting. I don't do much of it. But I love the fact finding some civilization that was lost, And I'm telling y'all right now, if y'all haven't watched this, please write this down. Go to YouTube and type in "Is Genesis History?" ? And they talk about how the timeline of this layer of rock took 100 million years, how that's BS. That the Grand Canyon they tell it. They go to the Grand Canyon and the scientists look at the layers and tell you how it could have been formed in 2 weeks. But you had to have a big flood, a great flood, for it to happen. Okay? I'm not, and it's so interesting. Hang in there with it. It's about an hour and a half long if you're not doing anything. Look at that. It's what we've been told about a lot of this stuff. Well, been told Bigfoot ain't real. Well, 14 seeing one, you know they're lying to you. Whoever they are, no, that's not real. Oh, you're full of it. You talking to the wrong one, trust me. But they make an amazing case for how this stuff. You just brought up North Carolina, Billy. There's whole areas and whole towns that's been the same for 80 to 100 years, 120 years. They don't look the same, and it didn't take but 2 days.
Yep.
right? They'll never look the same. You'll have to go back and look at pictures. Now, 5 years from now, you could go dig dirt away and maybe, it's never going to be the same. It's covered in too much sediment, right? It changed quickly. So they were talking about the guy was talking about Mount St. Helens, that one side where that whole side collapsed and all that material, where it went, and it changed in a heartbeat. Oh man, I know, Mark. I wished I wanted to. I mean, um, when if Billy hands me an arrowhead, I don't know who made it. I don't know what kind of rock it is. I don't know what region of the country. I don't. There's a lot of people know that stuff. When I hold that thing, it feels like you're connecting to the past for just a little bit. A person held it. He held this and made it. It was a tool. He or she may have fed their family with this thing a few times. Who knows? It might have been used defending their home. It might have been used in taking over some land. All of that. I do get antiques. I love antiques. That little bottle from 1921 right there. It probably ain't worth a nickel, but to me, where I found it and how I found it stuck in the wall, the house that was built in 1921, and when the remodel was done, there it was. It was illegal to have that. Some carpenter was working, had him a few drinks, slid that thing in the wall and covered it up. That's so I don't know. That's about all I got. Y'all know I could talk for hours. It's been 2 hours and 6 minutes. It's time for Heather to come home for lunch.
Y'all, I need to get on off here. I got my phone's just about dead, and
I appreciate it.
No problem at all, man. Good to see everybody. Nothing but love for all of you, and see y'all soon. Won't be long.
Yep. See you, Billy.
All right, man. Y'all take care.
Appreciate you. Yeah, y'all say thank you to Billy, because I literally texted him and said, "Hey, there's some things I want to talk about. Will you come on with me? Because I know me talking, I can talk, but it's more interesting. I like to hearing the stories, and it you kind of feed off of that, and it reminds you of things too. So, y'all, thank y'all. I appreciate y'all stopping by. And sorry about the stuff at the beginning of it. This is never going to be a professional show. It's just like us sitting on the back porch, drinking tea. Y'all, yeah. Greg, you been hanging in there? But yeah, the ones that hadn't checked it out, check out Is Genesis History, and it talks about a lot of stuff that's I think y'all find interesting. And like Don said yesterday, everything's connected. That's why he brings up things a little at a time. It's just like this right here. And the ones that don't have it we're probably connected in a different way, to each other or drawn to each other. So, all right, y'all, been fun. I appreciate y'all. This is kind of like my therapy. I don't get a chance to talk to anybody hardly. I've got to go because Heather, it's time, her lunchtime. It's 2:00 here, 2:11. And usually I have something made for her since I'm not doing anything. So, all right. Like Greg said, love y'all. And y'all be safe. If I don't see you before, have a Merry Christmas and all that stuff. And we will talk to you guys and gals later. See y'all.
Roger Williams audio capture. Well, actually, it's audio ripped from a video at Holland's Hunter Camp, April 27th, 2024. I've enhanced the volume over the areas that leave our booger call. It looks like an initial booger yell, Second one, a reply vocal further away. The third over here, coyotes start going off, which happens all the time, and then there is a booger call over here on the very end of it. To make the video shorter, I'm just going to play the middle section. Here's the very first booger call. .500 hertz up to about 700.
No, oh my God, get up here. Get up here, Nate.
You can tell Roger's excited. Reply call.
Is that wolves? Is that wolves?
Coyotes. And then the booger. Looks pretty clear to me. I mean, it's at the typical structure of a booger call. The frequency range is between 5 and 700. Over here, the coyotes get on up. Now, this isn't close enough to show the frequency bandwidths going up above it, but I'm sure everybody captured this on a regular record, and then we'll have a pretty good idea, a much clearer idea of what this looks like. But this is a really good capture to me.